Hey guys, it's me. It's Queen Osset Haru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask An Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. All right, guys. First and foremost, I want to remind you that if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Pass it on to somebody who needs to hear this information, and leave us a comment in the comment section if you have something interesting or funny or positive or inspiring or informative that you can share with the rest of us. Now, first and foremost, before I even get started, I want to show you guys something I got. You guys know that I've been collecting pocketbooks that are unusually shaped, right? So I saw this one on eBay. It is the shape of a love potion. It's a pocketbook. Isn't that cool? It's not a big pocketbook. It's a small crossbody. It has a small opening, nothing inside but a gaping hole. And on the back of it, it says Amortia. This is a Danielle Nicole from the Danielle Nicole collection. You guys know I have the Jasmine bag and another Aladdin bag from the same collection. This is from the Harry Potter collection. So it's really cool. It's like, I don't even know what this is. It might be nylon, maybe. I don't know what it's made out of, but I thought it was so freaking cute. I don't even think my phone fits in it. It has a little chain that comes with it. I don't even think my phone fits in it. So it's not going to be something that I'm going to get a lot of use out of, but I will take this like to dinner or something like that. Or a time when I have a pocket. And I thought it was cool because it has rose gold hardware, which I really think is beautiful for this particular color bag. And so you guys, I had to show it to you because I just love bags. I love bags, and I especially love the ones that are unusually shaped. So my collection has gained a new member. This was only $35 on eBay. It was much more on other sites. I think it was like $50 on another site that I saw it on. But I just thought it was so cute. I was like, oh, that works my aesthetics so well. All right, guys. So now we're going to talk about something that someone sent to me the other day. Okay? First part of this is two different people, two different questions. But they went together, so I was like, I'm going to do these together. The first person asked me if I script the videos that I do for Ask An Aquarius. And the answer is no. I never script any of the videos. Some YouTubers I know write a script for each video they do. They make long, complex plans about what they're going to say. I don't do any of that. I write down in my Facebook Messenger the topic for the day, 2 topics, and any announcements. And then I sit here with my computer in front of me and Facebook Messenger is open and I talk. You know, if you met me at a cafe, a restaurant, a bar, and asked me any of these questions that we talk about on a daily basis, this is basically what I would tell you. I just shoot from the hip. And I realized from doing the research for today's question, the other question, the second question, that this is how I got that ability. The second question is, would I talk more about Aquarius and impulse control? And I think that this is why I'm able to do this effectively. Let me explain it to you. If you get a working definition of impulse control, it explains it. It says, impulse control disorder is a class of psychiatric disorders characterized by impulsive behavior, failure to resist a temptation, an urge, an impulse, or the inability to not speak on a thought. And I think this is where this comes in at, because of the impulse control. As soon as I hear something, it's hard for me to hold back my thoughts and feelings about what was just said, especially the more emotional charge I have with it. Also, I have a Sagittarius moon, and Sagittarius love to communicate their thoughts and ideas. So These two things together, the Sag moon and the impulse control, and the impulse control might even come from the Sag moon, because a lot of Sagittarius moon people say they have poor impulse control. So they might just go hand in hand, you know, one might be the chicken and the egg. So two things I always ask Aquarius when I meet them, and I'm gonna ask you guys this now. I asked them, how is their impulse control and how is their temper? Because most Aquarius I know have issues in these two areas. Of course, not all, but some. So what I would like to know from you guys, if you do or ever had poor impulse control, what do you do about it? What are your techniques? Because I'm going to tell you mine. You show me yours, okay? So basically, when you have poor impulse control, and I think that Aquarius do have the worst impulse control. I don't think we're the only ones. I think that Scorpios do too, and maybe even many, many others, because I've heard people talk about different zodiac, such as Aries, Taurus, that they think have poor impulse control. But the bottom line is that it's either a psychiatric disorder or it's something that comes about from your chart. Either way, you have to deal with it. And basically, if it's a psychiatric disorder, you need cognitive behavior therapy. But if it's something that comes from your chart, your heavens, or whatever, you know, where your astrology is, cognitive behavior therapy could be helpful. But you also might be able to use some of the techniques that I've taught myself. When I was a young girl, this impulse control got me into trouble all the time. First of all, with the nuns at my school, because I would blurt out my thoughts and feelings all the time. If I was emotional, I blurted out how I felt. Or if there was an answer to a question and we were all excited about answering it, I might blurt out the answer. So the nuns were always mad at me because of my poor impulse control. Also, it got me into fights. Because if somebody really pissed me off, even to this day, if somebody really pisses me off, it's hard for me not to want to kill them. You know, it's really hard for me because I don't get normal things in my mind like smacking them or something like that. Things come into my mind like choker. Choke that bitch out. You know, that's what comes to my mind. Or he disrespecting you, set him on fire. You know, the dragon in me comes right out. And I'm like, I gotta go. And I hightail out of there because I know my impulse control is bad. And if I stay in a situation with someone who's pissing me off too long, I might not be able to hold myself back. So I just leave. I leave and go calm down and move on with my day. And I've learned, like I said, from having poor impulse control, that that's something that's kept me out of trouble. How do you think I never got arrested? Seriously, if I had not learned this technique, I would have been got arrested for assault, believe me. So over the years, I've had to teach myself those kinds of things. Another thing, impulse control can be positive, like I said, when it helps me to speak, but it can be negative when I get myself in trouble. So another time that I've taught myself to work this, because whatever you got going on with you, you have to learn how to work it. Another thing I've taught myself is how to change my impulse, because my impulses are based on feelings, my emotions, what is surging through me, and it will feel so intense. It'll feel like it's in my veins, you know, whatever it is, if it's anger, if it's sadness, if it's love. That's why I got in so much trouble, because I was unable to hold myself back as a young girl. And for many Aquarius, when we're young, this is the hardest time for this. And as we get older, we get more mature, we get more self-discipline, we learn some techniques, we get a spiritual system, hopefully, because my spiritual system does help me control myself, you know. So those things are all helpful if you have a poor impulse control. But as a young lady, I would feel it surging through me, and it was hard not to do whatever I wanted to do. Most Aquarius have a code, and we do what we want to do, but if we don't want to do something or we think is distasteful, we will never do that, and we won't recommend you do it either. But if it's something that we think is okay, we'll do it. So as a young girl, I was quick to steal somebody's man, quick to steal somebody's girlfriend. I used to like men and women when I was really, really younger. So I would always be quick to just date who I wanted to. It didn't matter if you're married. Hey, you know, you had a girlfriend, you had a boyfriend. Hey, you know, For me, it was like whatever I wanted. I had to, like I said, poor impulse control. So I got into a lot of trouble, as you can probably imagine, in those kinds of situations. I just didn't have the ability at that time to be in self control, to not give into my urges and impulses. So if I wanted something, I wanted it, and I was going to get it, and then, hey, deal with the consequences later. And that is what happened a lot of times. The consequences was what got me all the way right. What made me get myself together is the consequences. So, like I said, as I got older, I was able to do that. Now, one of the things I taught myself about the emotions part, the impulse control comes about because whatever this strong emotion is, and I can't fight the emotion or choose not to fight the emotion, because you can fight it. And so I learned that music switches my emotions. Music instantly sometimes switches my vibration. So I learned, if I'm feeling funky or if I'm feeling a certain kind of way, I can put on one of those songs that can shift my vibration. I have a song by Elton John, and it's called "I Don't Want to Go On With You Like That." That song instantly puts me into a high vibration. So if my vibration is low, or if I'm sad, or if I'm down, I listen to that song. If I need to, cry, I got a couple different 80s songs, love ballads that I can use for that. So if I need to change my emotion, if I'm feeling something, if I'm angry or something like that, and I need to quickly change it, I use music. And that's what does it for me. And I know a lot of people use music like that. They use it to calm themselves down, just different things along those lines. So music is very effective because of the vibrations. The vibration can change your vibration. People used to always complain about the kind of music I listen to, because I don't listen to any contemporary music. But little do they know, that's what's keeping me from being a homicidal maniac. The music that I listen to is what keeps me on an even keel. And it's always been like that my whole life. But I don't think I ever really explained that to a lot of people. It's either the songs I listen to or what I'm thinking and feeling, or it is something I'm listening to counteract my vibration. It's all one or the other. So that's something that can be very helpful for those of you who have poor impulse control. You might want to try manipulating your emotions with music, and then when you want to kill somebody, it'll calm you down. The other thing I said earlier was my spiritual system, because I don't know about other ministers and priestesses. I've never talked to them about this. I'm going to ask this question one day. But my vows and the things that I promised Goddess I would and wouldn't do come into my mind all the time. I remember them on my own. And sometimes Goddess say to me, she'll tell me right in my head, you're not doing it. And I'm like, okay. I'm one of the most obedient priestesses you'll ever meet. Some of the times my priestesses will ask me questions, and I'll be like, I never asked that. Let me find out. And they'll be like, how did you not ask? Because after a certain point in my priestess training, I stopped asking those kinds of questions. I think I just got to a space of just faith, just trust. And I just stopped asking those kinds of questions. So when Goddess says something in my head, I don't question it. If she's like, stop, don't do that, I stop and don't do that. Don't go there, I don't go there. Turn left, I turn left. I'm very obedient with that. And it has always been helpful for me. That's always worked out. And I just remember so many times when she said something to me and I responded, and it got me out of some dumb shit that I was getting ready to get myself into. I remember the last time I saw Voldemort. We got into a fight, of course, because we always get into a fight. Every time I see Voldemort, we eventually get into a fight. So I never really had to worry. After a certain point, I never really had to worry about him being in my life, because I knew that no matter how long he stuck around, we would eventually fight and he'd go away again. So I always knew I never had to really worry about that after we stopped seeing each other, if that's what you want to call it. So last time I saw, we got into a fight, and I remember I was going through my impulse control issues, and I was standing and thinking to myself, you should stab him. That's what I was thinking. You should stab him. Like, you should cut his damn throat. Like, I was thinking this in my head, and Goddess was like, sit down. And I heard it in my head. She said, sit down and put your hands in your lap. And I was like, and I wanted to kill him. So I sat down. I mean, immediately I sat down, and I was standing in front of the door because I was blocking him from going out the door. Because I was about to, I was blocking him from going out the door. So Goddess said what she said in my head. And she was like, this is not you. Sit down and put your hands in your lap. And I opened the door wide. And I sat down on the bed and put my hands in my lap. And then she said, breathe. And I just sat there and just breathed. And I breathed. And she was like, breathe. And he walked out. And I heard the door close. And she was like, now, breathe. And I just kept breathing. And she was like, now, watch Scandal and drink your wine. I'll never forget it. She said, just like that. And I was like, ooh, Scandal. And like my impulse control immediately took me to the next thing. Ooh, Scandal, because that was my show back then. I stopped watching it after a while because it really got bad. But at first it was good. And she said this in my head, and I sat down and drank my wine and watched Scandal. And she was like, just shrug it off. Don't, just shrug it off. You know, so my spiritual system, not even just hearing her, but knowing what to do and what not to do, is a large part of my self-discipline. Because like in a case like that, that kind of dramatic thing doesn't happen often. She doesn't talk in my head that often. It does happen, but most of the time what happens is I realize like, okay, I'm cutting up. I'm getting ready to step out of bounds. Let me get myself all the way right. That's usually how it works. But I think in that instance, it was getting ready to get violent. And Goddess always steps in when I'm slipping, you know? So I think she just stepped in like, you tripping. Come on. Come on, let's go. And that was the end. That was the end of it. He walked out. I went and locked the door and watched Scandal and drank my wine. So yeah, that's what I do with my impulse control. So another thing I use is television, any kind of media really. Reading doesn't always work, but television, movies, and music has a tendency to work for me to shift my emotions and change my vibration. Reading is only good when I'm already calm. I have to already be calm to read. So that doesn't always work. All right, guys, that's my talk about impulse control. Yes, Aquarius have poor impulse control. These are the things we can do about it. And I'm going to be looking in the comment section to see if you guys give me some more tips. Okay? All right. Now, if you want to talk to me, if you want to get a reading, if you want to send me a gift, if you want to be one of my patrons on Patreon, any of the above, all my information will be underneath this video. Thank you for being here, and come back soon because I got a lot more to say. See you later.